Hey guys, this is Spark Plus Ultra here, and this is my redo on What If Deku Had Leatherhead Abilities, Part 2, from New York to Japan, and I hope you like this video and hope you subscribe. Zuko and Midnight are still at New York City, but they were surrounded by news reporters and asking questions on what happened in the attack with those two attackers that were breaking into the city hall. And Midnight explains that Suki was wondering what's going on, and he came out of his handcuffs or break them. He was more curious, and the news reporters say, "But what about those agents? Didn't he probably knock them out?" And Midnight says, "No, he probably just scared the living crap out of them." And the news reporter says, "Is that true?" And Suki looks at him with a cold blank stare and growls, "Okay, he's not joking." And Midnight says, "Yeah, he's not used to being sworn like this." Alright, this is Daily Live on New York City News. Signing up. And then the TV turns off, and Midnight says, "Man, I really am a little annoyed. But see, this is why it's sometimes annoying with news reporters. They surround you." And Suki, looking at Midnight with a silent but he understands, nods to Midnight, and Suki then writes down a question to her, and Midnight says, "What's up?" And then Suki writes down, "Why am I in this gear or getup?" And Midnight says, "Oh, right, we need to keep a low profile. Paparazzis are always around." And Suki gets it, but why does he need to? And Midnight says, "If you're wondering why you're in that, it's because you had a little record." And Suki confused on what she meant by record. History, like you might have scared or made a impact. And Suki says, "Okay." And then Midnight says, "Alright, time to get to my home country." And Suki says, Home country?" And Midnight says, "Yeah, you'll like it." And Suki and Midnight get into a flight and aboard to Japan. And Midnight says, "Alright, Suki, this is Japan." And Suki looks around and was amazed on how different it was to New York. And Midnight takes him around the city and shows him how big the city is in Tokyo and other different countries. And Suki was amazed on how many varieties Japan has and how cultural it is. Even though he was in the sewer, he was amazed on how amazing it looks. And Midnight says, "Oh, we're going to UA to work on your course." And Suki says, writing down a note on paper asking Midnight if he could get a certain meal. And Midnight says, "Sure," and getting Suki a meal for being a good boy. And he gave him a bento box filled with egg rolls, calamari, sushi, with a mix of soy sauce, and some added healthy meals. And Suki sparkles in his eyes seeing this, and Midnight says, "I guess that's what happens if you eat so much bug in the sewers." I can't blame you to eating this. And Suku then eats a sushi and then says, Yum! And Suku eats it at a very quick rate, and Suku says, haha, and writes down a glad to eat it. And Midnight then says, alright, let's go. And Suku then bows down to Midnight, showing his respect to her helping him. And Midnight says, don't worry, it's going to be fine. We'll have to get you to do some learning, but it's going to be a smooth road if you figure it out. And Suku is willing to try it in his expression. Over 8 years, Suku was studying on many math to science and other technical advanced things that he can study on, becoming increasingly smart to the point that he is near to a scientist level of IQ, which is about a IQ of 190 to his perspective. And Midnight says, Suki, your test scores are amazing. And Suki says, well, it was about time. I had a little rough start at first, but with an amazing teacher, I had better time grasping it. And Midnight says, hey, you don't have to compliment me on that one. Some of it was power load and Azawa. And Suki says, yes, Azawa. He was strict, but fair, at least. And Azawa says, what? You sound disappointed. And Suki says, you're behind me? And Zawa says, why do I even bother? And Suki says, also, you're in a freaking bed thing as well? How are you so quick on it? And Zawa says, well, besides that, your intelligence in school is pretty good. But I think you could help on a certain situation. And Suki says, And Midnight says, we were gonna ask you if you want to be in class 1A and UA as well. And Suki says, that's a real challenge, but I will agree. Here's a deal as well. Azawa says, what's the deal? You see, our training method is more taking down villains in the exams, but we were hoping if you could be replacing that, you become a villain and do the villain exam for our little trainees. And Suki says, that would be a challenge, but I haven't been a villain like for a long time, since I was 6. And Zawa says, well, you just have to play as the villain. Just try not to hurt. And Zuki then thinks, I will try my best on doing that. And Zawa says, good. It's gonna be on the second day. And Suki says, and when Zawa leaves, Suki tells Momo, he scares me. And Zawa says, I heard that! And Suki says, I guess training is now. And with Midnight, and Midnight says, alright, let's see how well your dodging capabilities have grown. And Suki says, okay, and then Midnight used her whip, and Suki gets hit. And Suki then says, And Midnight says, not good enough. You didn't feel it, but taking a guess that your osteoderms, you're not likely to get pierced by not a ordinary thing, but a certain types of bullets, or maybe a chainsaw. Well, slash that, but you need to work on your reaction time. And Zuki says, yes, I haven't done any training for a while. And Suki gets better and gets into shape under 2 days with no remorse with Azawa, but little of it comes to midnight. But when second day comes, Suki trains with a certain hero, and Suki says, who am I gonna train with this time? And Zawa says, a very, very popular hero, which I do not like popularity, of course. And Zuki says, I kinda figured. And Zuki says, who's the person? And Zawa says, alright, meet All Might. And Zuki says, what? All Might? And All Might comes down and says, don't worry, because I am here. And Zuki says, it is a very, very honor to meet you, Mr. All Might. And All Might says, no worries, young Zuku. I was asked from Zawa to help you out on your capabilities. He said to me that you need a little hand-to-hand combat. And Zuki says, I haven't done much work on fighting hand-to-hand. I was studying mostly in research about much of a fist fight, but I do want to learn. And All Might then says, alright, time to show you what to do on hand-to-hand combat. And All Might shows Zuki how to fight. Some boxing techniques. Mostly for him, it's slugger and swarmer style, making him very adept to close range combat and defensive as well, and a heavy hitter. And All Might says, good job. A little more training and I'll have him bit of over 3 months or so. And Zawa says, can he at least get a better techniques and with hand-to-hand combat? And All Might says, well, yes, he's on par with a normal boxer. And Zawa says, good, because next day is his villain role. And Suki then says, alright, let's get ready. Next day, Suki goes and gets into his villain look, and he sports a shorts similar to a Southern Floridian, or Floridan, if you guys ever gone to Florida, and a mix of jacket with a hunter's hat, making him look like a Southern Floridian hunter. And then Zuka says, how's this? And Zao says, you look like a bounty hunter ready to get his work on. And Suki says, I thought this aesthetic would work. I guess the knight actually gets this one. Works. And Zao says, alright, now we go in. I made the territory work for you. And Suki says, what territory is it? In his southern accent. And Zao says, it's a swamp for you. And Suki says, swamp, huh? This is going to be interesting. And you got your gear of capturing? And Suki says, yep. If they get the green mark, then they win. If they got captured by you, they're out. And Suki says, alright. And the game has gone, and about a simple and not as dangerous as the other one, and about everybody got a very good share, making it easy to anybody or not that hard. Basically in a middle ground. If anybody got captured, then they're not in UA. But if they aren't, they are going to UA in a simple thing. And yes, I based it off of the frickin' 1980 or 1990 Leatherhead villain gear. And Zuki did not like it. It makes him look like a kind of a jerk in a Lucina way. So he'd rather not wear that gear again. The game was over, and Suki sighs and says, I hate wearing this. And Zawa says, noted. You can get into your regular gear anytime. And Zawa also has a question. Did anybody be afraid of you? And Zuki says, well, a few, but they were more surprised out of my alligator sneak attack. But some wanted to fight me, like that blonde-haired kid. And Zawa says, anything else? And Zuki then thinks back. There was a girl that actually loved my quirk. That crocodiles were in the dinosaur period. And Zawa says, alright, you're going into Class 1A, and here's your UA uniform. And Zawa gives him his uniform, and Zuki says, thanks, Zawa. And Zawa says, mind losing the southern accent a bit? And Zuki says, sorry, I can't help it. I got too deep into my accent. Blech. I'll be done with this accent before you say Wintucket. And Zawa says, oh boy, this is going to get interesting real quick. And Suki got back into his normal voice or accent and goes to Class 1A and says, alright. And Zawa says, going in first day in the morning. And Zawa looks behind him, and Suki says, yeah, stop that! And Zawa says, I got a plan in mind. And Suki says, I do not like where this is going. When all of the Class 1A got into class, all of them were wondering who's the teachers going to be and what they're going to have. And then when the door opens, they see a very shagged looking man coming out of the door. And all the students were wondering, is he okay? And Zawa says, morning, my name is Zawa and I'll be your teacher. There's another student in here. And the students say, another student? Where is he? All of them were wondering. And Zawa says he's right, and Zuki then gets out of the table, destroying the teacher's table, and does a surprise roar and shocking all the students. And then all the students says, it's the villain! And Zawa says, figured they fall for it. And Zuki says, that is a mean thing to do, you know. I was wanting to see if they got their instinct just like you. And they really do. And Bakugo says this. Hey, I know this kid! He's the kid that attacked me! And Zuki says, please, if I really attacked you, you would be more snapped. All the students were all shocked on Zuki being a student. The villain from the preliminary exam was a student. But Zuki apologized for that, but it was quickly forgotten with all the students. And Zawa says, alright, time to do the strength exam. And that's where I'm ending this video. I hope you liked this video and hope you subscribe.